Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Really, really appreciate everyone coming here today and taking some time this afternoon. Obviously, a very, very special day for Clemson baseball. Those of you that are here in person and virtually on the Zoom. I see current players. I see some former players out around. I see support staff. I see other coaches. I see Coach John Rittman here, our softball coach. He's obviously going to be a great teammate of Coach Bakich. I see a former head coach here that you all may recognize, Coach Leggett. Really, really appreciate you being here. It's really special. Really means a lot. As you can tell from the media turnout, Clemson baseball is a big deal. It's a big deal. The standing room only aspect of this crowd really speaks to that. And for us to have this special day and announce Coach Bakich as our head coach is really, really incredible. Really want to thank you to the Board of Trustees, President Clements, who've been incredibly engaged in this process. We said from the very beginning that we think Clemson baseball is a top 15 job, and their commitment throughout and support of the program now and into the future for Coach Bakich really, really speaks to that. Extreme interest in this position. It really speaks to the special place and special program that Clemson baseball is. During the search process, some of the things we looked for included an established head coach with demonstrated success at a big-time program, the ability to recruit and develop ball players, a coach of integrity that will invest in the Clemson community, and who will connect with the proud lineage and tradition of Clemson baseball. We feel like we didn't have to compromise on all that, and it all fell into place with Coach Bakich. We got an absolute superstar with Erik and his wife Jiffy. And to Colt, Bo, and Tempe, welcome to the Clemson family. Clemson baseball got better today, and we're so glad you're here. So with that, I'd like to formally introduce the next leader of Clemson baseball, Coach Erik Bakich.
Wow. Thank you. Man, it's great to be back. I can't believe it's been 20 years since I've gotten to say go Tigers. But thank you, Graham, his wife, Kristen, for this opportunity to lead and serve Clemson baseball. Thank you to President Jim Clements, the Board of Trustees, Kyle Young, Kevin White, for your support in this process. To the University of Michigan Athletic Department, all of our players, past and present, their families, seven decades of alumni that joined our team in Omaha, all the fans, I have the deepest appreciation and gratitude for what we were able to accomplish over the last 10 years. So thank you for an incredible ride. To the coaching mentors that have helped mold and shape the person and the coach that I am today. Coach Keith LeClaire, who I played for at East Carolina, he's the why and the inspiration to start coaching, and a promise that I made to continue his legacy. I don't remember the X's and the O's or the mechanics, but I remember that the confidence and the belief that he instilled. He made his players think they were 10 feet tall and bulletproof. He made his teams think that they could accomplish anything. So Coach Leggett, who's here today, instilled the importance of good fundamentals, instilled foundational life skills like discipline, toughness, competing, having relentless positive energy, and doing it all with a care level that is absolutely unmatched. So thank you for giving me a shot. To Coach Tim Corbin, the value of recruiting excellence, to shifting the target onto developing the total person, the teammate, as well as the future husband and father. That coaching and teaching is a lifestyle, not a job. Very appreciative of the 7 years I had with him at Vanderbilt. My family, my parents, who allowed their son to chase a kid's dream and pursue his passion. Jiffy's parents for, really allowing me to marry their only daughter. But the unwavering support the last 17 years. our kids, Colt, Bo, Tempe, the most important title I have is Dad, and I'm very thankful to be yours. To Jiffy, my wife, she's the leader of our household. She's the person I admire the most. She's also the model of a servant leader. She constantly puts others ahead of herself. She's a mom of 3, but she's a mom of 40 more. And the team is not the team without Miss Jiffy. So we are looking forward to fully integrating our family into the team and the team into our family. I've always put Clemson up on a pedestal, not only because it's a great academic school and because I got my coaching start here, but I'll be forever grateful to be in the right place at the right time. And I know how lucky I was to join a staff with 3 coaching legends, with Coach Leggett, Coach Corbin, Coach O'Sullivan. I told Coach Corbin when I first got to Clemson 20 years ago that I was going to work the same hours as him. And little did I know at the time what I just signed myself up for. I was a 24-year-old volunteer assistant coach who got paid in Gatorade bars and T-shirts. I had a $200 a month apartment that had no cable TV, no AC, but every single night I couldn't wait to set the alarm clock and get back into the office. I loved it. I still love it the same 20 years later. There's nothing better than helping individual players and a team unlock their potential and achieving more than they thought was possible. 20 years ago, that historic 2002 team was 54-17, was ranked number 1 in the nation for most of the year, finished in the top 4 in the World Series. We had star players like Khalil Green, Jeff Baker, Michael Johnson. We had great team chemistry. We had a ton of confidence. That season, I remember hearing some of the comparisons of some of the all-time great Clemson teams, the all-time great Clemson players, names from the Coach Wilhelm era as well as the Coach Leggett era. Guys on the wall like Rusty Adkins, Bill Spires, Billy McMillan, Chris Benson, Jimmy Key, Matthew LaCroix, Shane Monahan, David Miller, Neil Simons, Brian Barnes, Andy Monin, Doug Kingsmore, Tommy Chapman, and more. Since then, there's been even more like Mike Freeman, Brad Miller, Seth Beer, our current 8 big leaguers, and the recent individual accolades with Coach Lee. Clemson's been playing baseball since 1896, 126 years. We have a lot of teams and a lot of players to be proud of. The one constant that separates Clemson baseball from everybody else is the traditions that have spanned all those decades. The long white pants, the white cleats, the Omaha on the hat, disciplined teams who are fundamentally sound and mentally tough. Our players will learn this history and connect with the traditions of Clemson baseball if they haven't already. We'll have a goal to add as much value as we possibly can to make our page in the history book one that would be bookmarked for all of time. Whether you played for Coach Wilhelm, Coach Leggett, or Coach Lee, you're not just a Clemson baseball player for the 3 or 4 or 5 years you're in college. You're a Clemson baseball player for life. And there's not a better time to connect all generations of Clemson baseball alumni than right now. This program will be built on the 2 pillars of recruiting and player development. Recruiting is a 24/7, 365 focus. We'll target the best players in South Carolina, in the region, on the Eastern Seaboard, and in the nation, and in that order. Development is also a 24/7, 365 focus, and we'll prioritize developing the total person first. One of the things I've learned in the last 10 years is that if you want to have a really good team, you got to have a bunch of really good teammates. So we'll build the person, the student, the teammate right here inside this very room, which will be our classroom. Every day we'll start here to be a designated space for learning. We'll teach how to shift the target off of results and stats and scoreboard to the character traits and the behavioral standards that create championship teams. These standards will illustrate how our daily environment is established, which leads to the identity of our team and our culture as a program. These standards will also allow success to happen and the scoreboard to take care of itself. Success is defined by answering The question whether each player reached his max potential and did the team reach its potential. I can't wait to help our players and teams unlock this potential in their minds and bodies so they can perform at their best. That being said, results matter at this level. There are 5 championships to win every season, 2 in the conference, 3 in the postseason. One of the reasons a student athlete comes to Clemson, besides a great education, is to compete on a national stage for all 5 championships. Another reason to come to Clemson is for the Clemson-South Carolina rivalry. We will take this rivalry very seriously and respect it every single day by how we prepare and train. Regardless of championships or rivalries, we'll narrow our sights down to the number 1. One day, one game, one inning, one pitch, one rep at a time. So we look forward to seeing the Clemson family absolutely pack Doug Kingsmore Stadium. It's one of the best baseball facilities in the nation. Our program will aspire to add as much value to Clemson University and the Clemson Athletic Department as possible. It's inspiring to see how Coach Sweeney and the football program have helped turn the Tiger Paw logo into a nationally or a globally recognizable brand as they've experienced the pinnacle of college football. It was also great to see Coach Noonan and the soccer team win a national championship last season, as well as seeing Coach Rittman and the softball program's ascension in such a short time. Clemson baseball will have the highest goals and expectations. I'm proud to be a branch of the Jack Leggett coaching tree, and it's a privilege to serve as the baseball coach at Clemson. Thank you again, Graham, for trusting me to lead this program and be a part of this prestigious institution. We're all in. Go Tigers.
Great. We're hanging here.
With that, we'll open it up to questions for Graham or Coach Bakich.
Okay, Graham, this is David with TigerNet. When you first started this search, was he kind of one of those guys that you set out right away? This is a guy that I want to talk to.
Thanks, David. Had Erik led with that in our first interview, we would have wrapped this up a couple weeks ago, probably. Absolutely. Erik's been top of our list, or in the proverbial list of the right-hand drawer, for certainly these past couple weeks, but if I'm being real honest, many years. Obviously, with his ties here and the success that he's achieved, certainly at Vanderbilt, Maryland, and then Michigan reaching the pinnacle with Omaha. So absolutely was an early target, and just as we spent time over the past few weeks of a search, and Coach was obviously still playing for a while there, just remained really consistent. The thing I'll say too about Coach Bakich, he made it very clear he wanted this job right away. He wanted to be the head coach at Clemson and be the head baseball coach at Clemson, and so that made it very inspiring about his desire to be here, and therefore our pursuit of him matched that.
Erik, Will Vandervoort, Clemson SI. Just curious, when you saw the phone call come in, Graham's calling you, what was your level of excitement where you kind of decided to kind of maybe get this opportunity?
It was level 10, for sure. Yep. I've always put Clemson up on the pedestal. Very grateful for the opportunity I had here, and feel like I wouldn't be here today without that opportunity 20 years ago. So it was a combination of how I feel about Clemson University and Clemson baseball, in addition to Graham's leadership and his vision for the program, and just the connection that we had instantly.
Erik, what are some of the styles that you like? I assume analytics are probably a big thing for you. What kind of the teams you build? You a small ball guy? You mix it up? What are some of the...
You know, it's a combination of both. In today's world, players have access to a ton of information and sometimes can get confused with it, and you just have to reduce it down to old-fashioned blue-collar competing. But we are fortunate at a place like Clemson to have all the technology. We'll use it, but we'll simplify it. We'll take the complexity out of it so that our players are understanding in a very simple way how to maximize their development and how to maximize results on the field.
Welcome back, Coach. I'm Mitchell Summers with Fox Carolina. Now, Graham was saying the expectations he has for this program, a top 15 program consistently in regionals, making deep pushes. Do the expectations at all intimidate you?
Absolutely not. I love it. I see that as a great challenge. I look at 2010. The program was in Omaha. Coach Lee's first 3 years, we were hosting regionals. I just don't see any reason why Clemson baseball can't compete for national championships, trips to Omaha, ACC championships, and host the postseason right here at Doug Kingsmore Stadium.
Erik, why do you feel like now was the right time to come back here? What was kind of the decision-making process like for you over the past couple of years?
Well, timing is everything, and the opportunity presented itself. And again, my love and affinity for Clemson University and Clemson baseball, it's where I started, so it's my first job, and I feel very grateful and fortunate to have gotten so lucky 20 years ago that I would have always been interested in this and jumped on the opportunity when it presented itself.
I guess, Erik, how difficult was it leaving Michigan? Obviously, you built something there over 10 years. I mean, what do you tell your players? How difficult was it?
It's the one thing. Well, I told him I loved him, and the one thing I told him is that relationships transcend geography and location. And just because I'm in a different state and maybe wearing a different logo, it doesn't mean I don't love them any less, and I won't continue to be in their lives. I'll always be a coach and a mentor to them, and just because I'm not there doesn't mean that I'm not with them or not speaking to them or not involved with them. And I told them all. I hope to be at all their weddings someday, and continue to maintain a very strong relationship. That's the hardest part of leaving, is the players that you are leaving and the relationships that you have. So it's important to me to continue those.
Graham, you mentioned having Coach Leggett here and now having Coach Bakich, tying all of that together. Was that important to you? Do you really want to kind of, bring back some thoughts and ideas and just some focus of what it was like, years ago?
Yeah, Brad, thanks. And it is really, really telling and appreciative for Coach Leggett for 7 to be here. Erik's the fourth coach for Clemson baseball in 56 years, and so that legacy from Coach Wilhelm, Coach Leggett, Coach Lee, which was a successful championship-winning era as well, and now with Coach Bakich, that the stitching together of that tradition from the head coaching chair, but also all the players, and in talking with all of our coaches, Coach Lee, Coach Leggett, for them and their era and their time, absolutely a lot of achievement, but it's the players. And so for our alums that are here and former players, that stitching together was really important just for the health of Clemson baseball, and Erik's unique time here and relationships really speak to that.
Erik, the ACC is a much different place, even from your time at Maryland. Kind of, as you step back and thought about your job, knowing what you've just gone through, battling the Big Ten, what this league is like now, how does it change when you approach things now in this job?
I think everything is elevated, and the heightened awareness towards just recruiting the very best of the best, developing in the very best way possible. I mean, everyone is good in this league. There are no weak teams in this league, and so on any given weekend, it doesn't matter what the rosters say on paper. It's who plays the best. So it's going to be really important to prepare and train in a way that we're able to put a very, very competitive winning product on the field.
Hey Coach, Amanda Poole with Watchbox out of Columbia. It's nice to meet you. I was wondering how will your approach to this position differ, if at all, to other positions, knowing that you're stepping into the shoes of somebody who meant so much to the Clemson family?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if my approach will change in terms of putting the target on developing the total person. It's important that this very room right here, I believe that developing the person, the teammate, the future husband, the future father, the future community leader, there's a trickle-down effect that leads to the results on the field. So I would be unwavering in that process of how important the classroom time is. And then on the field, the results won't be any different, or the approach won't be any different either. We'll look to put together the best team in the country that we can possibly field. And in 126 years of Clemson baseball history, we are yet to win a national championship. And I don't see any reason why we can't have that lofty goal year in and year out. And that's what we'll be striving for. That's how we'll be recruiting, and that's how we'll be developing.
Coach, I know the ink isn't quite dry on the contract. Do you have an idea of how you want your staff to shake out and who you want to bring along and use here?
Yeah, I'm going to be asking one of our assistants at Michigan, Nick Schnabel, So I'll be talking with him. We'll be going through a process of interviewing pitching coaches. I'm evaluating the support staff positions as well. But I won't rush that, and I'll be very thorough in that process to make sure we have the very best coaches and support staff for our Clemson team.
You have an idea about Coach Leggett? Is he welcome around the program? How will you use him? Because he's obviously a great resource.
He's an unbelievable resource, and he's a great friend, and he's a great mentor, and he's been a great mentor ever since I worked for him 20 years ago. And my answer to that is we have to have Coach Leggett involved in this program and around our players, and the energy that he brings, and whatever capacity that is and whatever title that is, I don't know, but I just know the program will be better with his energy involved.
Coach, can you take us back through 20 years ago and give us a little insight about what your life was like at that point?
Sure. Well, when I made that I don't know if you want to call it a challenge, but when I lobbed that out there to Coach Corbin that I would work the same hours as you, that meant my days pretty much starting in the office around 6 a.m. and not finishing until about 9 p.m. There used to be a Pepino's down the street, so we would hit that up, and there was also a $2 movie theater, and I was a frequent occupant of the $2 movie because I didn't have cable TV. But I don't have any hobbies now anyways. I didn't have any hobbies then. I just love to work. I love to coach. I love to be involved. I love to be all in. And I didn't have much of a life, to be honest with you. It was just coaching.
I know you've been back here before, Coach, but some of those emotions of remembering that struggle or whatever you want to call that existence in O2 kind of hit you when you got back into town here in the last couple of days?
I wouldn't say it's struggle. It was a tidal wave of just almost like nostalgia, like, you know, how you feel about something you were the first time you did it, and it holds a special place. And so walking down the steps and, you know, and then just seeing all the upgrades and all the changes, but then remembering the cages were over there and hitting with Michael Johnson in the cages till 2 a.m. You know, he's trying to fix his swing, and just all the little memories like that. You know, the home run MJ hits into the trees, but there's not a tree there anymore. It's a light pole, and it's just all that stuff. It's just it just rushed back, and I've been kind of just going down memory lane today quite a bit, and I'm thrilled to get to wear the Tiger Paw again and say I'm part of the Clemson family.
What was it about that 1 year here that made you put Clemson on a pedestal and made it be a place that you would want to come back even though you were just here for such a short amount of time?
Sure. Well, I think it was the recognition of how lucky I was to be surrounded by Coach Leggett, Coach Corbin, Coach O'Sullivan, and then that team of superstar players of that type of success to, you know, your first year coaching, and it's like, oh yeah, we'll just win 54 games and be #1 in the country and go to Omaha. That's just how you do it. And, you know, so for me, it was a lot of times drinking from the fire hose and being a sponge and taking it all in. But I just will forever be thankful and grateful for not only being on staff with those guys, but the fact that Coach Corbin, Coach O'Sullivan, and myself shared a single office every single day. And you want to talk about accelerating the learning curve. That was it. So it's all of those things fortified by our team's success and still maintaining contact and relationships with those guys.
Coach, this is a team that obviously you didn't have a hand in recruiting. There's been some players that have already transferred away. What's your pitch to these guys as you were meeting with them that, hey, I'm the guy that you need to be sticking with?
I think that's natural in today's world of college athletics. There's transitions and there's attrition, and it is what it is. But we had a Zoom call today with all the players, and, you know, just expressed, you know, my excitement for, you know, getting to be their coach, and look forward to building relationships with all of them and connecting to our history and some of the prominent alums in this program, and getting everybody back and how we can move the needle forward. But we've got good players on this team. I mean, that's everyone I've talked to. That's very clear. We've got some very good talent on this roster, and our opportunity this summer will maybe be to add a couple more players to it and go into the fall with a championship team.
Erik, when I looked at your last Michigan team, there were a lot of guys from all over the country. What will be your recruiting footprint here at Clemson?
It'd be like dropping a rock into Lake Hartwell and watching the ripples. We will dominate the state of South Carolina, and then we will attack the region. We'll look at the entire eastern seaboard from Maine down to Miami, and then we'll target any players around the country, whether it's the Midwest or anywhere else, that would fit the profile of a Clemson baseball player, or the culture that we're going to be building. But it'll start with the state of South Carolina and move out from there.
Graham, I may be asking you to look too far in the future, but you've invested monetarily with him and his staff. But knowing that 11.7 isn't exactly equal as it is at other schools, the scholarship limit, do you have any plans to further invest infrastructure in trying to make that a little bit more equal to other schools around the country to keep Clemson competitive?
Yeah, thanks, David. We've talked a lot about all the other it's top 15 program and that commitment that starts here, but you're right, it's much more than that. It's bricks and mortar facilities. We have recently upgraded our indoor hitting cages. We have designs for a baseball, softball, indoor practice facility, essentially. That's just very preliminary, but that's probably the next big project and how it would support both of those programs and other programs. We've talked a lot about through the get to know and the search process, and particularly with Coach, you can tell very cerebral, very program management oriented, very curious. And so we talked a lot about 11.7 stretchers and the intentionality that we have administratively with aid and how we can help with the new Alston dollars that are available and some of the other summer school investment, things like that, just to kind of help those things, because all those little things matter. And so that's our job administratively. Infrastructure, to your question, David, aid helps, and then what that looks like for staff, and it starts with people. So all those things matter, and those have all been baked within our review and discussions with Coach Bakich and him back to us as he's evaluating our commitment. It's easy to say, and we talk about top 15, but that means so much more, and that's we're committed from that inside out.
Erik, you mentioned the work ethic you picked up here all those years ago. I'm curious, are there any other lessons you carried with you from 20 years back, being here with Coach Leggett and Coach Corbin and Sully?
Yeah, all three of them brought a unique character traits to a program that was just the perfect blend and combination of what makes championship team and builds championship players. You know, Coach Leggett was, one of the most hands-on, high-energy coaches. It doesn't matter what the drill is, base running, infield play, cuts, relays, rundowns, he's in it, he's in the mix. Sully and his competitive fire and just getting the pitchers and the catchers to just compete on the mound, behind the plate. And Coach Corbin, just the precision level of organization, the thoughtfulness and thoroughness in the recruiting, and just the attention to detail in every single thing that he did, plus the ability to coach hitting and teach hitting, all of that, and so much more. That was the foundation of moving forward. And you take all the best parts of all the coaches that have impacted you, and you try to, put your own twist on it, so to speak, which we've done, with player development and the deep dive we've done into helping players unlock their bodies and their minds over the last 4 or 5 years. But foundationally, fundamentally, I've only ever been a part of one coaching tree, and that's the Jack Leggett coaching tree. And I'm very proud to be a part of that.
Erik, from a facility standpoint, obviously this is a state-of-the-art situation here and where we're at, but are there any other things maybe you talked to Graham about that maybe you'd like to see the program kind of get better at and improve from a facility standpoint?
Not at first look. I've been blown away. I mean, we'll probably do a walkthrough and a needs assessment, and maybe a fold-over desk where you're sitting right there, so our players can take notes. But other than that, this is darn near perfect, and I think it's a cathedral. It's spectacular.
Coach, did you already have the orange tie, or have you needed to add all these things?
Jiffy has been spending a lot over the last week, but this is a new addition. I did have one orange tie for a fundraiser that we did this past April for a pediatric cancer event. So I did have one orange thing in the closet, but no, we got some new stuff this week.
Erik, what are you going to be looking for in a new pitching coach?
What am I looking for in a new pitching coach? Somebody who can bring the simplicity to what seems like a very advanced way of teaching pitching these days. It's one thing to teach throwing, it's another thing to teach pitching. And you see a lot of that line being blended, and throwing is not necessarily pitching, and developing your stuff is great, and it's important to develop velocity and movement, but you also have to command the baseball and throw it where you want to, and that location component is not only in games but in bullpens and catch play. And then there's a whole controlling the game component where it's important to pitch with quick tempo, it's important to be quick to the plate, it's important to field your position. So all of those things, plus being ultra competitive on the mound. When all else fails, that me versus you mentality, and I'm just going to get the dude out. So those things.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you, guys.